Each of Alan Jackson's #1 hits tells part of his story. I'd Love You All Over Again celebrated his early marriage to Denise. Chattahoochee captured his Georgia upbringing. Drive honored his father's memory. Remember When chronicled his marriage journey, including the difficult patches. Where Were You When the World Stopped Turning showed his ability to connect personal emotion to national events. Alan Eugene Jackson was born on October 17, 1958, in Newnan, Georgia, a small town about 40 miles southwest of Atlanta. He wasn't born into the music industry. His father, Joseph Eugene Jackson, was a mechanic at the Ford Motor Company assembly plant, and his mother, Ruth Music Jackson, worked as a dietitian and school cafeteria manager. Alan was actually the youngest of 5 children with 4 older sisters, Diane, Kathy, Carol, and Connie. This upbringing as the only boy in a household of women would later inform his understanding of and respect for women, evident in many of his songs. Alan grew up in a small home built around his grandfather's old tool shed. These humble beginnings would later influence many of his songs about small-town life and working-class values. The family didn't have much money, but they were rich in love and faith. The Jacksons attended the First Baptist Church of Newnan, where Alan was baptized as a boy. This religious foundation would remain important throughout his life and career, eventually leading to his gospel albums, Precious Memories, Volumes 1 and 2. The music was always present in the Jackson household. Alan grew up singing gospel music in church and was exposed to country music through his father, who was a fan of classic artists like Hank Williams, Charlie Pride, and Roy Acuff. As a teenager, Alan started listening to the radio and became influenced by artists like Gene Watson and John Anderson, who would later shape his neo-traditional country sound. Despite his love for music, young Alan was actually quite shy and didn't initially consider music as a career path. After graduating from Newnan High School in 1976, Alan joined a local band called Dixie Steel. The band played at small venues around Georgia, giving Jackson his first taste of performing for an audience. Music was still just a hobby at this point, though. He worked various jobs, including as a car salesman at Newman Chrysler, construction worker, and even in a shoe store. He also worked briefly at the Dairy Queen and delivered furniture. These everyday jobs gave him perspective on the lives of the people who would eventually become his fan base. Years later, this experience would help him write authentically about working-class life in songs like Little Man, which lamented the disappearance of small-town businesses in the face of big-box retailers. The most important event in Alan's early life was meeting Denise Jackson, nee Denise Williams, his high school sweetheart. They first met at a Dairy Queen when Alan was 17 and Denise was 16. They dated throughout high school and married on December 15, 1979, when Alan was 21 years old. What many people don't know is that Denise played a crucial role in launching his music career. While working as a flight attendant for Piedmont Airlines, she had a chance encounter with Glenn Campbell in the Atlanta airport. She boldly approached Campbell, told him about her husband's musical aspirations, and managed to get Campbell's business card. This connection would later help Alan get his foot in the door in Nashville. In 1985, Alan and Denise took a leap of faith and moved to Nashville to pursue his music dream. They sold their home in Newnan and packed all their belongings in a small U-Haul trailer. Those early years were tough. Alan worked in the mailroom at the Nashville network while trying to get noticed as a songwriter and performer. His TNN job sometimes involved delivering mail to country music stars, giving him a close-up view of the industry he was trying to break into. Denise stood by him during these lean years, working as a flight attendant to help make ends meet. This loyalty he would never forget and would later reference in songs like Remember When. During these struggling Nashville years, Jackson was writing songs and recording demos whenever he could. One of his early champions was Teresa Smith at Glenn Campbell's music publishing company, who had taken an interest in him following Denise's airport encounter with Campbell. Smith helped him secure his first songwriting contract. Jackson spent several years honing his craft as a writer before getting his big break as a recording artist. Finally, in 1989, after years of struggle, Jackson signed with Arista Records, becoming one of the flagship artists for the newly formed Arista Nashville division under label head Tim Dubois. Jackson was actually the label's first signee, taking a chance on the new country division of the primarily pop-focused Arista Records. His debut album, Here in the Real World, was released in 1990 and immediately established him as a rising star in country music. The title track reached 3 on the Billboard country charts, but it was I Love You All Over Again that became his first one hit in 1991. Jackson wrote this love song for Denise as a 10th anniversary gift, showing how his personal life directly influenced his music from the very beginning. During this early success, Jackson and Denise welcomed their first daughter, Maddie Denise, born on June 19, 1990. Becoming a father added a new dimension to Jackson's life that would later emerge in songs about family. Friends noted that despite his growing fame, Jackson was a hands-on dad who treasured time with his daughter even as his career demands increased. The early 1990s saw country music exploding in popularity, with artists like Garth Brooks bringing theatrical elements and rock influences to the genre. Jackson, however, took a different approach, embracing a more traditional sound that harkened back to heroes like Merle Haggard and George Jones. This neo-traditional approach was both an artistic choice and a reflection of his authentic personality. There was nothing about Alan Jackson that suggested he should be swinging from the rafters like Brooks.
Thank you very much. It's good to be here in Indiana. I'm proud to be here to support the farmers, and right now I want to do a song.
As Jackson's career was taking off, he released his second album, Don't Rock the Jukebox, in 1991. The track hit one and became one of his signature songs. It's interesting that around this time, country music was starting to incorporate more pop and rock elements, but Jackson was making a statement with this song, staying true to traditional country sounds. The album was recorded with his longtime band, the Strayhorns, named after the street where Jackson lived when he first moved to Nashville. 3 more singles from this album topped the charts: Someday, Dallas, and Love's Got a Hold on You, making 1991 to 1992 a period of massive success for Jackson. A little-known fact about Dallas is that it was written by Billy Joe Shaver, an outlaw country legend. Jackson's willingness to record songs by veteran songwriters showed his respect for country music tradition and helped keep these writers in the spotlight. Throughout his career, Jackson would continue to champion the works of veteran songwriters, even as he developed his own writing voice. During this professional success, Jackson and Denise welcomed their second daughter, Alexandra Jane Ali, on August 23, 1993. Despite his growing fame, Jackson tried to maintain a normal family life, often flying home after concerts rather than staying on the road so he could spend time with his young family. Even as he was selling millions of records, friends said Jackson remained unchanged, driving his own pickup truck rather than being chauffeur and preferring fishing to Hollywood parties. 1993 was also the year Jackson released A Lot About Living and A Little About Love, which contained what would become perhaps his most iconic hit, Chattahoochee. This song captures the essence of growing up in a small southern town and resonated with fans across the country. It won both Single of the Year and Song of the Year at the CMA Awards. The famous music video showing Jackson water skiing in jeans and boots became one of country music's most recognized. It was co-written with Jim McBride, who would become one of Jackson's most frequent and successful collaborators. That same album produced 2 more one hits, She's Got the Rhythm and I Got the Blues, and Who Says You Can't Have It All. During this period, Jackson was performing in front of increasingly larger crowds, but friends and colleagues noted that fame didn't change him. He remained the same humble Georgia boy, now just with a bigger hat collection. His vintage car collection was also growing, reflecting his lifelong passion for classic automobiles that started with his father, who taught him to appreciate cars. In 1994, Jackson showed his versatility with his cover of Summertime Blues, which also reached #1. That same year, he released Who I Am, which contained the chart toppers Livin' on Love and Gone Country. The latter was particularly interesting as a commentary on the country music industry itself, as artists from other genres were switching to country because of its growing commercial appeal. Even as he was criticizing industry trends, Jackson was experiencing the benefits of country's expanding audience. Livin' on Love showed Jackson's gift for writing about enduring relationships following a couple from youthful poverty through comfortable old age, emphasizing that love matters more than material wealth. On October 17, 1997, Jackson's third daughter, Danny Grace, was born, completing the Jackson family. This period of personal fulfillment coincided with continued professional success as he released Everything I Love, 1996, featuring the one hits Little Bitty and There Goes and High Mileage, 1998. With the chart topper right on the money. Little Bitty was written by the legendary Tom T. Hall and featured that songwriter's trademark focus on finding joy in life's simple pleasures. Jackson's recording of the song introduced Hall's writing to a new generation of country fans. Around this time, Jackson was also becoming known for his music videos, which often featured his family and real-life settings rather than elaborate productions. The late 1990s also saw Jackson building his dream home, a 25,000 square foot mansion inspired by Tara from Gone with the Wind on 135 acres near Franklin, Tennessee. The estate, named Sweetbriar, reflected both his commercial success and his love for Southern heritage. The property included a 10-acre lake stocked with fish, perfect for Jackson's favorite pastime. His car collection now had proper housing in multiple garages on the property with over 20 vehicles, including a 1968 Shelby GT 500 KR convertible and numerous vintage Thunderbird. However, despite the outward appearance of having it all, the Jackson marriage hit a serious rough patch in 1998. The couple separated due to Alan's infidelity and the strains that fame and life on the road had put on their relationship. As Denise would later recount in her book, she had lost herself in being Mrs. Alan Jackson and needed to rediscover her own identity. The couple underwent counseling, and their Christian faith played a crucial role in their reconciliation. This painful period would later influence some of Jackson's most personal songwriting. Rather than hiding these struggles, the Jacksons would eventually share their story of reconciliation in Denise's 2007 book, It's All About Him, Finding the Love of My Life, crediting their faith for helping them rebuild their marriage. During the separation, Jackson wrote several deeply personal songs that would appear on later albums, working through his emotions the way he knew best, through music. Friends noted that this period of personal crisis led to some of his most introspective writing, though the full extent of this wasn't immediately apparent to fans. As the new millennium began, Jackson continued his commercial success with Under the Influence, 1999, a collection of covers honoring his musical heroes, and When Somebody Loves You, 2000, which included the #1 hit, It Must Be Love. The Under the Influence album was particularly meaningful to Jackson as it allowed him to record songs by the artists who had inspired him, including Merle Haggard, Charlie Pride, and Hank Williams Jr. His cover of Papa Tot from this album became yet another hit, showing that the classic country sound still had commercial appeal. That same year, Jackson teamed up with George Strait for Murder on Music Row, a pointed criticism of the pop direction country music was taking. The song lamented that traditional country music was being killed by industry forces favoring crossover appeal over authenticity. Ironically, this song about the death of traditional country won the CMA Vocal Event of the Year award, proving there was still institutional respect for the traditional sound. Then came September 11, 2001, a day that affected every American, including Alan Jackson. Like many artists, he struggled with how to respond to such a national tragedy. The result was Where Were You When the World Stopped Turning, written in the middle of the night, just weeks after the attacks. Jackson later recounted that he was hesitant to record the song, worried it might seem like he was capitalizing on a tragedy. His wife Denise encouraged him to share it, believing it captured what many Americans were feeling. Jackson debuted the song at the CMA Awards in November 2001, and it immediately resonated with a grieving nation. Rather than expressing anger or calling for revenge, the song captured the confusion, sadness, and unity that followed the attacks. It quickly rose to won Jackson his first Grammy Award for Best Country Song. Many consider this the most important song of his career, transcending entertainment to become a historical document of a pivotal American moment. The song's chorus, with its reference to faith, hope, and love, drew from 1 Corinthians 13:13 in the Bible, reflecting Jackson's Christian faith. In 2002, Jackson's father, Eugene, passed away. This personal loss inspired another of his most touching songs, Drive for Daddy Gene, which also recalled how his father taught him to drive a boat and a car, and how Jackson was now passing those experiences on to his own daughters. The song's music video included family footage, giving fans a glimpse of the real Eugene Jackson and Alan's daughters. At this stage in his career, Jackson was increasingly drawing on deeply personal experiences for his most powerful songs. During the early 2000s, Jackson continued to resist the growing pop influence in country music. His 2002 album Drive was a commercial and critical success, selling over 4 million copies and cementing his place as one of country music's most reliable hit makers. In 2003, Jackson released Greatest Hits Volume 2, which included the new song Remember When, a reflective ballad looking back on a lifetime of love. Written as he and Denise were rebuilding their marriage, the song traces a couple's journey from young love through raising children to growing old together. It became an instant one hit and one of Jackson's most beloved songs, often used at weddings and anniversaries. The song's music video, featuring family photos and footage, gave fans a glimpse into the Jackson family life over the years. The lyrics, remember when we said when we turned gray, when the children grow up and move away, we won't be sad, we'll be glad for all the life we've had, seem to reflect Jackson's growing comfort with aging and life's changes. That same year, It's 5 O'Clock Somewhere, his duet with Jimmy Buffett, spent 8 weeks at one and crossed over to pop radio, expanding Jackson's audience even further. The song's laid-back celebration of escaping work responsibilities matched perfectly with both artists' styles and became an anthem for overworked Americans everywhere. The collaboration made sense on multiple levels. Both singers celebrated coastal lifestyles in their music, and Jackson had long been a fan of boating, often spending time on his own boats when not touring. Around this time, Jackson purchased a second home in Jupiter, Florida, reflecting his growing connection to the boating and coastal lifestyle celebrated in songs like It's 5 O'Clock Somewhere and Boats. The ocean and boating were not just lyrical themes for Jackson, but passionate hobbies, with his collection of classic wooden boats becoming nearly as famous as his vintage car collection. His love for Merritt sport fishing boats in particular was well known in boating circles. Throughout the mid-2000s, Jackson continued to release successful albums like What I Do, 2004, Precious Memories, 2006, a collection of gospel hymns, and Like Red on a Rose, 2006, produced by Alison Krauss. While not all of these projects yielded one hits, they showed Jackson's willingness to explore different facets of his musical interests, from gospel to more jazz-influenced production. Like Red on a Rose was particularly notable as a departure, with Krauss pushing Jackson in more sophisticated musical directions that surprised some fans, but showcased his versatility as a vocalist. The Precious Memories album has an interesting backstory. Jackson recorded it as a Christmas gift for his mother with no intention of releasing it commercially. The recordings were so well received by friends and family that he was convinced to release them as an album, which went on to sell over 2 million copies despite receiving little radio airplay. This demonstrated Jackson's ability to connect with fans outside the traditional country radio format. During this period, Jackson was also quietly expanding his philanthropy. He supported Habitat for Humanity, helping build houses in his hometown of Nuon and in the Nashville area. After Hurricane Katrina devastated the Gulf Coast in 2005, Jackson participated in multiple benefit concerts and made substantial private donations to relief efforts. His connection to the coastal communities affected by the hurricane was personal, given his love for the Gulf region where he often vacationed and boated. In 2007, the Jacksons faced another challenge when Denise was diagnosed with colorectal cancer. Alan put his career on hold to support her through treatment, and thankfully she made a full recovery. This health scare further strengthened their relationship and reinforced the themes of appreciation for life and loved ones that run through many of Jackson's songs. Following Denise's recovery, the couple became advocates for cancer screening and early detection, with Denise sharing her story to encourage others to get regular checkups. That same year, Jackson was inducted into the Georgia Music Hall of Fame, a meaningful honor from his home state. His roots in Georgia remain an important part of his identity, and he frequently returned to Noonan for family events and to support local causes. He established a scholarship fund at Noonan High School to help local students pursue higher education, particularly those interested in music and the arts. In 2008, Jackson released Good Time, with the title track becoming his 25th one-hit. He wrote all the songs on this album, showcasing his continued strength as a songwriter even after nearly 2 decades in the industry. As the 2010s began, Jackson was no longer dominating the charts as he had in previous decades, but he was still capable of creating hit songs. In 2010, he collaborated with the Zac Brown Band on As She's Walking Away, which won a Grammy Award. This collaboration showed Jackson's willingness to work with newer artists and his continuing relevance to country music. In the song and video, Jackson plays the role of a wise older man giving romantic advice to a younger man, played by Zac Brown, a passing of the thoughts moment that acknowledged Jackson's elder statesman status in the genre. In 2011, a series of devastating tornadoes swept through Alabama, hitting particularly hard in Tuscaloosa. Jackson, who had family connections to Alabama, organized and headlined a benefit concert that raised millions for relief efforts. This was part of a pattern of Jackson responding to natural disasters with concrete aid, something he typically did with little publicity or fanfare. In 2012, Jackson released 30 Mile West, named for the distance from his hometown to the Chattahoochee River. The album reflected his connection to his Georgian roots. Later that year, he left Arista, Nashville, after 23 years and signed with EMI Records Nashville, marking a new chapter in his career. This change came after decades with the same label, an unusual longevity in the music industry that spoke to both Jackson's loyalty and his consistent commercial appeal. While dealing with all the usual challenges of aging and career evolution, Jackson also faced a personal health challenge when he was diagnosed with Charcot-Marie tooth disease, a degenerative nerve condition that affects muscle strength and balance. He kept this diagnosis private for years before revealing it in 2021, explaining that it was becoming more noticeable in his performances. The condition, which he inherited from his father, makes it increasingly difficult for him to balance, especially on stage. In typical Jackson fashion, he downplayed the severity of his condition while acknowledging it had begun to affect his ability to perform live with the same energy he once had. Despite these challenges, Jackson continued to create music that mattered to him. In 2013, he released his second gospel album, Precious Memories Volume 2. And in 2015, he released Angels and Alcohol, his 20th studio album. These later career albums may not have produced the string of one-hits that defined his earlier work, but they showed an artist comfortable with his legacy and still creating meaningful music on his own terms. In 2014, Jackson launched his 25th anniversary Keepin' It Country tour, celebrating a quarter century as a recording artist. The tour was a reminder of just how many hit songs Jackson had accumulated, with set lists that could barely contain all the fan favorites. During this period, Jackson was also inducted into the Nashville Songwriters Hall of Fame, recognizing his contributions as a writer. Jackson's philanthropy continued throughout his career, though he rarely publicized his charitable work. In addition to disaster relief efforts, he has supported organizations like the American Red Cross, St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, and various children's charities. After his wife's cancer diagnosis, he became a supporter of colon cancer research and awareness campaigns. In his hometown of Noonan, he has quietly helped fund local initiatives, including improvements to the town square and support for small businesses, reflecting the values expressed in his song Little Man about the importance of preserving small-town America. In 2017, Jackson received one of the highest honors in country music when he was inducted into the CountryMusic Hall of Fame. During his induction speech, he remained as humble as ever, thanking his wife, family, and fans for supporting his career. That same year, he was also inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame, recognizing his contributions as a writer of classic country songs. These honors acknowledge not just his commercial success, but his artistic integrity and influence on the genre. The year 2018, Jackson's daughters beginning to marry, with Maddie marrying Samuel Selectman in May. Tragically, just 3 months after the wedding, Selectman died from traumatic brain injuries after a fall. This family tragedy showed another side of Jackson's character as he supported his daughter through unimaginable grief, once again putting family first even as he continued his career. Following this tragedy, Maddie and Denise Jackson co-wrote a book called Lemons on Friday, chronicling Maddie's grief journey and how faith helped her cope with such a devastating loss. In 2019, Jackson's middle daughter, Ali, married Sam Bradshaw, bringing some joy back to the family after the previous year's tragedy. His youngest daughter, Danny, will get married someday. In 2020, during the COVID-19 pandemic, Jackson found innovative ways to perform safely, including a series of drive-in concerts that allowed fans to enjoy live music while maintaining social distancing. He also used the downtime from touring to write new material and spend time with his family at their Tennessee home. In 2021, at age 62, Jackson released Where Have You Gone, an album that reaffirmed his commitment to traditional country music. The title track lamented the disappearance of traditional country sounds from mainstream radio, showing that even in his 60s, Jackson was still advocating for the music he loved. The album also contained deeply personal songs like You'll Always Be My Baby and I Do, written for his daughter's weddings. Later that year, Jackson's hometown of Newnan was hit by another natural disaster, an EF4 tornado that caused significant damage to the community. True to form, Jackson organized a benefit concert called Where I Come From Tornado Benefit featuring Alan Jackson that raised over $2 million for relief efforts. The concert was held at the Coweta County Fairgrounds and featured emotional performances of songs like Where I Come From that took on new meaning in the context of helping his hometown recover from disaster. In October 2021, Jackson publicly revealed his Charcot-Marie tooth disease diagnosis in an interview with today's Jenna Bush Hager. He explained that he had inherited the non-fatal neurological condition from his father and that it was affecting his ability to balance, especially during performances. With characteristic understatement, he said, I have this neuropathy, a neurological disease, but it's genetic that I inherited from my daddy. There's no cure for it, but it's been affecting me for years, and it's getting more and more obvious. Despite these health challenges, Jackson expressed determination to continue performing as long as possible, saying, I'm not saying I won't be able to tour. I'll try to do as much as I can. In September 2022, Jackson received the CMA Willie Nelson Lifetime Achievement Award, another recognition of his enduring influence on country music. His acceptance speech reflected his characteristic humility as he thanked his family, team, and fans for supporting his career over more than 3 decades. Throughout his career, Alan Jackson has achieved remarkable commercial success. 26 #1 country hits, more than 80 million records sold worldwide, 2 Grammy Awards, 16 CMA Awards, and 17 ACM Awards. He is one of the best-selling music artists of all time and one of the few to achieve such success while maintaining artistic integrity and a consistent sound. But perhaps more impressive is how he achieved this success by staying true to his musical roots and personal values. In an industry often driven by trends and image changes, Jackson remained constant